My name is Goldman. I'm the director and founder of Goldman and Associates. Our firm has a primary focus on family law issues. Please subscribe to our channel. What are the questions that you might ask a potential family law attorney if you're deciding whether they should handle your custody case or your divorce case or really any family matter? Well, I think the main question you should ask is, this is what I want to achieve. What's your vision on how I might do that? And you should get a clear sort of game plan, a roadmap, if you will, a blueprint of what that lawyer proposes in order to get you from where you are right now to that point B where you want to be. If that lawyer and you share the same vision of how that might go down, then you probably found the right lawyer. If your lawyer has a different vision that's not consistent with yours, perhaps the search continues. So for example, if your lawyer thinks that the way to accomplish this goal is to go on a smear campaign of the other person, but you have a notion that when it's all over that you'll still get along with your ex, perhaps the smear campaign is not the way to go. You've got to find somebody else who has a different vision that's more consistent with yours. So I think when we talk about questions to ask your lawyer, number one, what's your vision of how we're going to do this? Another very important question has to do with the money. How much is this going to cost, and how will I pay it? What will I be charged for? The lawyer can tell you, for example, I require a retainer of $5,000. That's what I require. But you have to understand, the retainer is not what the case is going to cost. The retainer doesn't, speak to ultimate cost of the case. It's not the most the case will cost, probably the least the case will cost. So the retainer is just money, put on, it's gas in the tank. But whether or not that amount of gas that you put in the tank is going to carry you for the whole journey, more likely than not, if it's litigated, it won't. So you got to get an idea from your lawyer. What's the retainer? What's it going to cost for me to start this process? Then you want to ask, well, how long will that likely take me? The lawyer can't predict with certainty because they don't know what the other person is going to file, but they can give you some idea that, this retainer, this is the hourly rate, this is a retainer, so it covers you for, let's say, 10 hours. What can we accomplish in 10 hours? Well, that's a question to ask your lawyer. Your lawyer should be able to tell you. Well, we can draft and file the complaint. We can serve it upon the other party. They're going to file an answer. We can digest that answer, perhaps file a response to it. We can begin to do some discovery. These are the kinds of things the lawyer can tell you where your money will begin to go. If your lawyer will tell you, I predict that this is what it's going to cost and this is what's going to happen, you got to wonder. Because, a lawyer doesn't have a crystal ball. A lawyer, it's hard to predict. Now, the lawyer can tell you, based on my experience, I think you have a strong case. But for the lawyer to tell you, oh, I'm sure it will cost no more than X dollars, it's not likely to be the case, because it's like you're saying, we're going to the airport. I'm sure it won't take us more than 45 minutes to get to the airport. It doesn't take into account weather, traffic, accidents, police, nothing. So, if a lawyer at this stage of the game says to you, I'm sure in 6 months this will be what happens, you got to wonder whether or not you've got a lawyer there or a salesman. Sometimes you get a person who's trying to get you, to sign up with them, but really the realistic answer, what a lawyer should say to this person is, look, this is what we're going to try and do. Based on our experience, this is the agenda, this is what it may cost, but you need to understand there are unforeseen things. So we're going to let it unfold a bit, and we'll revisit, the issue of cost and how long it'll take and all those things as we get further along. That's the appropriate answer. If you're getting something that sounds more like some kind of guarantee, what you're being exposed to is salesmanship, not lawyering. And I'll tell you one thing. One is a terrible substitute for the other. So you want to avoid that. Another question you might ask, if it doesn't work out, what are my options? And your lawyer might discuss with you filing motions for reconsideration, filing appeals, all those other things. But those are certainly questions you want to ask your lawyer if you're going through a divorce or a custody case. A lot of people say, well, shouldn't I ask my lawyer how many cases he's handled? What's their success rate? All those things. And I'll tell you, a lot of the law is counterintuitive. A lot of times you think something is important, but it really isn't, because the law is like a whole nother world. And things that apply in your world don't necessarily work in the lawyer world. Similarly, how many cases a lawyer handled doesn't really matter, because while you can gain some general experience, no case is the same as yours. That person may have handled 100 cases, but none of them is exactly like yours. Each case is, in and of itself, a separate entity. So you can get some general notion of how long a person has been practicing and how many type of cases he or she may have, had before, but it's not going to have any bearing on your particular case, your particular ex, your particular judge. All of those things are pretty much going to be unique to your situation. A lot of times people, like I say, will ask, well, what's your one-loss record? There's no one-loss record in divorces. We're dividing up stuff. I don't know if I divide up everything and this person gets the couch and this person gets the TV. Is there a win or a loss there? That's really not something that's relevant, and it's not part of the analysis in the type of work that family lawyers do. I'll tell you when it's important. When you're handling a auto negligence case and somebody got sued and somebody got injured and they're suing an insurance company and they're either going to get something or they're going to get nothing. Then it's, did you win the case or did you lose the case? And yes, I won. I got $100,000. That makes sense. But when you're determining how many days your kid is going to stay with dad or how many with mom, that's not really a function of win or loss. That's more of a function of seeing how we can transition from one state of life, married family, into another state of life, divorced, broken home. And how we survive and cope with that, that's really what it's about. It's really not about winning or losing. So ask your lawyers how many cases he wins or loses is sort of not a relevant question. And if he has an answer, you'd have to wonder about that too, because we've had, I don't know how many, hundreds and hundreds of cases, maybe thousands over the years in family law. We don't keep track of what's a win or a loss, because frankly, who's to say? You know what I think is a win in my mind? When it's all over, no matter who got what or who got the custody, if the family's well adjusted and the kids are able to somehow survive that broken home and become useful, productive citizens, in my book, that's a win. Is the person, going to think that, that's a win, or the other side going to think that's a loss? I don't know. To me, that's a win. And many times, it's very interesting. People walk out of court. The judge renders a verdict. Both parties are miserable. Each one thinks they lost. So is the lawyer going to say, well, I guess I won that one? I don't know. There's some lawyers who think, some judges, who think that if they make both sides equally miserable, that's a win-win. I think in family law, like I said, the win comes about years later when you see as the result of the effort, whether or not everybody's well adjusted and worked out okay. That's where your win comes in. And those are not statistics that most lawyers keep. If you have any questions about that, reach out and we'll be glad to help you out.